Salute, everyone. Um, Comrade Ramzu Yunus. Just wanted to share a few things. As I said, I would probably start doing every Sunday, as long as I can. Not in America at the moment. I'm in Egypt. Actually, I live in Egypt now, but I come back to America back and forth to engage in our struggle for justice. But I wanted to mention some things. And let's go over a few things, matter of fact, as suggested by my fellow human rights policy officers, some critical things, because we're in a critical situation. We've always been in a critical situation in America, and definitely right now, under the heavy hand of Trump, President Trump, we need to know what to do. We don't know what we're doing. It seems like we don't know what we're doing. As a people, organizations don't know what they're doing. Top civil rights organizations from the NAACP to the ACLU, none of them knows what they're doing. Or maybe they know what they're doing, but they continue to do what's ineffective. Their actions are completely ineffective. As was taught to us years ago, decades ago, before I was even born, by the likes of Malcolm X and others, any civil rights actions is useless, ineffective in the first place. As black people, we should have our own nation, be governing ourselves. We have a human right of self-determination to govern ourselves and not to have to participate in the American system, which we will always be the losers in the American system. We're just a minority population, 13, 14%. So mathematically, just by math, not political science, mathematical science, we're always going to lose. But even according to the political science of the American system, we're going to lose. Always. Let me share a few things. I want to read a couple of things. I got this, matter of fact, from the American Political Science Review. I wanted to read, written by a scholar. This is Cambridge University Press. This is what I read what he said. He said, it's called Who Loses in American Democracy? A count of votes demonstrates the limited representation of African Americans. See, the point of this is this scholar from this university just pointing out that black people, what are you doing participating in America's political system? You're always going to lose. Listen, he said, critics have long feared that America's winner-take-all electoral system would undermine the interests of minorities. Unfortunately, few available tests broadly assess how well minorities fare in a democracy. And he goes on to say how he runs his test to see how black or African Americans fare in the political situation in America. So he goes over the voting process. He said, I find that across the range of American elections, African Americans are consistently more likely than other groups to end up losers, raising questions about equity in American democracy. Now, here's a scholar, political science scholar. I got this from American Political Science Review. But I know we don't study political science. We all taking political actions, call ourselves political activists. Not one of us study political science. If you are a political science major, you can raise your hand and teach us something, and teach the others. Because if you study political science, you would know that inside of a democracy, the only guaranteed winner is the majority population. If you are a minority inside of a democracy, you're always going to be the loser. There's many articles, scholarly articles written on something called tyranny of the majority. We discussed that last week. Tyranny, look it up, tyranny of the majority. That's in political science. It's defined as an inherent weakness to democracy, in which the majority always gets what it wants, even against the interests and the lives of the minority factions. It is akin to oppression and tyranny. So they call it tyranny of the majority. So many scholars, there's many articles in many political science books that if you are a minority, you're always going to be oppressed. Guaranteed. So this author in this political science review was saying, look, black people, voting is not going to work for you. It's never going to work for you. As long as you are a minority. If you ever become the majority, then voting will work for you. That's why nobody in their right mind that understands political science or the law will participate in somebody else's civil rights system. Bear with me. Now, I got a publication. I downloaded this from Notre Dame Law School, written by Douglas Cassell. When he published this, he was out of New York, Chicago University, Northwestern University School of Law. But he wrote this called Civil Rights and Human Rights, a call for closer collaboration. So when Malcolm X said, black people, stop engaging in the civil rights struggle, engaging in the human rights struggle, to this day, we still don't know the difference, what's human rights and what's civil rights. Why is Malcolm X criticizing Dr. King for engaging in a civil rights struggle and trying to encourage him to engage in a human rights struggle? And then why did Dr. King finally, months before they killed him, said, look, in a meeting in Frogmore, South Carolina in 1967 to his organization, said, look, brothers, we got to leave civil rights struggle alone and engage in human rights. Why? Bear with me. This is what this professor of law says. So first he gives us a understanding of what the difference is, because most of us, we don't even know the difference. And I did it for a long time. Many years, I never knew the difference between civil rights and human rights. He says, jurisprudentially, of course, the difference is more profound. Civil rights are granted to members of a society by its laws. They can expand or contract with congressional majorities. So your civil rights can expand or they can contract, they can take them back. Like you see them taking back different civil rights privileges, affirmative action, DEI, whatever. If a certain group that is not interested or doesn't like the civil rights that you have, if they are the majority in Congress or in the government, they can contract, take those laws back. Or if they're in favor of them, or they can expand them. But we see the current regime, they are against those civil rights, so they are contracting them. And us being subscribers to civil rights, there's nothing that we can do. Under civil rights actions, there's nothing that we can do. Bear with me. They can expand a contract with congressional majorities. In contrast, human rights do not derive from positive law and are not limited to the members of a polity. They are inherent in the human person. We are all born with them. Laws and governments can neither grant nor take them away, but can only recognize them or fail to do so. Civil rights may vary with national laws, but human rights are universal. So that's what Malcolm X was saying. He was saying, look, under civil rights actions, you are appealing to the civil authority. You're trying to pass and amend laws under the civil authority. They may grant them to you. Even if they do grant them to you, the next congressional majority, if there's a party that's against them, can take them away. You're appealing to the civil authority. Under human rights, they can't grant, can't contract, can't do anything to stop those human rights. They are natural. Human rights are natural. Number one natural human right is the right for all peoples to govern themselves, to be independent. It's called the right of self-determination. Bear with me. This is a lawyer, civil rights lawyer, speaking, but he went into human rights. Bear with me. He says, I have never forgotten a job interview I had in 1972 with Jack Greenberg of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People Legal Defense Fund. As you may know, Greenberg had participated in practically every major U.S. Supreme Court civil rights case since Brown versus the Board of Education. I asked him if he had to do it all over again, would he do anything different? Yes, he answered to my astonishment. I'd go into international human rights law. Look up this man, Jack Greenberg. He was the co-counsel with Thurgood Marshall on that Brown versus Board of Education. And he took over after Thurgood Marshall in the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Look him up, Jack Greenberg. He was in all of those cases at the Supreme Court fighting for civil rights for black people. Now, this is the top civil rights lawyer in history, one of the top. Some consider him the top. Saying if he could do it all over again, he would forget civil rights struggle and engage in international human rights. Why? Because those civil rights actions he was battling against the civil authority, who could overpower them and at many times did overpower them. And the gains that he did get, they could be contracted, taken away. But under human rights, he didn't have to struggle against the government, argue and try to appeal to the government or argue against the government in their own courts. Human rights, the government couldn't fight against them. So he said, if I could do it all over, just like Dr. King said in that meeting in Frogmore, South Carolina in 1967 to his comrades, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He said, we've engaged in 12 years of struggle. We have gotten nothing but popularity. So let's start over again, this time with human rights. That's what Dr. King said. So when you think of Dr. King as a civil rights leader, he was for a minute. He didn't die. They didn't kill a civil rights leader. They killed a human rights leader, and that's why they killed him, because human rights gave King uncheckable power. Just imagine somebody that can amass millions of people to take power. Not amass millions of people to give a speech, to appeal to the government to treat them right, but amassing millions of people to take power based on their human right of self-determination. What if King did that? They couldn't allow King to do that. And King said he was getting ready to engage in disobedience against the government, civil disobedience. You know why? Because according to human rights law, a government that illegally occupied, unlawfully occupied, and unlawfully dominated, alien or racial domination over another race, you don't owe them any obedience. So Dr. King would have been right. Let's engage. Let's not obey anything these people say. Let's not obey the police, the courts, nobody, because they are illegitimate according to law. But we don't deal with human rights law. We're stuck in an enslavement paradigm of civil rights. That's why I put that as the title. And that's not what I said. That's what a group of doctors of law who met at Hamline University School of Law in 1993 to discuss African Americans and the right of self-determination. They said we are stuck in an enslavement paradigm of civil rights. Anytime we have a problem, we turn to civil rights to solve it. We turn to marching and protesting, boycotting and voting, knowing that we're always, not knowing because we hope we can win, but we never win because their political science itself says that we can't win because it's science. If science say if you're thirsty, you need water, why would you go and drink some sand? So science says that civil rights can't quench the thirst for justice for black people. That's science, political science. Legal and law, the science of law says that, look, there's something that you can do, though. Bear with me. Because these people got us turning purposeless circles, protesting, marching, voting. Here's a scholar at their political science review said, look, black people, you're always going to lose when you vote. You're always going to lose. And now we're definitely going to lose. Bear with me. You all ever heard of the ACLU? ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union. It's like the top civil law organization in America. Last year alone, their budget was $383 million. Here's an article, a press release that they put out in 2020. ACLU has filed 400 legal actions against Trump administration. August the 17th, 2025. 400 legal actions. 2020. It's 2025. Trump is back. Legal actions didn't work then. They're not working now. When I checked as of April, and it's almost November. Now, as of April, they had 53 already this year, as of April, against Trump. Still losing. Civil rights. That's why Malcolm said you can't win with civil rights. You can't win in their courts. That's why Dr. King switched. That's why the top civil rights lawyer, Jack Greenberg, said if he had to do it all over again, he would leave civil rights alone and go into human rights law. So it's time for us as black people to leave civil rights actions alone. We can't beat them with that. Listen, that's the ACLU, 400 lawsuits, legal actions against Trump. That's in 2020. And Trump is back, and they still suing him, still taking legal actions against him, and they can't win. Because civil rights actions can't, no pun intended, but trump the civil authority. Malcolm X told us that common sense way back in the 50s and 60s. Listen, there's another article I got from the ACLU. In the courts, gerrymandering. 30 ongoing suits as of October 2025. They got 30 ongoing suits because of gerrymandering. Now, we're going to get to this EBT situation at the end of this. But for now, let's talk about this. Gerrymandering is like when they cut up the districts inside of a state or county, wherever, to make a new district that they can control based on racial lines, really. Say on political lines, maybe party lines. But it's mainly racial, because they know black people are going to be Democratic. So now you saw the news, Texas is going to do it, doing it now. California in retaliation, they doing it. But there's 30 ongoing, 30 of them ongoing as of October 2025. Let me read this. Gerrymandering. So they say if it's a black majority area, for instance, if it's black, you know they're going to have black representatives because the whole area black. But outside of that area is everybody's white. So they can take one part of the black district and include it into the white area. So now it's a majority white area with that black population cut off from its majority black district. And on this side, they cut off this side of the black population to another white district. And over here, another part of the black to the white district. Over here, another black part to the white district. Now it's controlled by a white majority. No black power nowhere. Political power nowhere. It's gerrymandering. They can do it as they see fit. Been doing it. So here's an article. They got 30 cases. ACLU, 30 cases now. It says Mississippi has a growing black population, which is already the largest black population percentage of any state in the country. Yet black Mississippians continue to be significantly underrepresented in the state legislature. As Mississippi's latest districting maps fail to reflect the reality of the state's changing demographics. It's Mississippi. It says they deprive them of political representation that is responsive to their needs. So even local politics is not going to cut it. They can change the demographics and control that. That's Mississippi. It goes on to talk about Louisiana, how it's affecting black people. They go on and talk about Missouri. The new district lines are gerrymandered and will harm political representation for all Missourians, particularly black residents in Kansas City. Goes on to Missouri, all over the place. Alabama, 30 different suits talking about white folks redrawing the district, remapping this thing to take black people out of power. But that's civil rights. Under human rights, in those areas where black people live, we have a right to stand up and declare our independence from the state and the federal legislature control. They can't legislative control. Nobody can come in there. It's black only. We declare independence. That's what we can do. But we don't know we have that human right of self-determination, so we let them just go ahead and gerrymander us. Some of us keep participating in voting, not even knowing we've been gerrymandered. And wondering why your vote is ineffective. Wonder why we've been voting for 100 years and ain't got nowhere. We don't know better. This is Political Science 101 tonight, brothers and sisters. But when you know, see, we got to know political science. We political activists. If you vote, that means you're a political activist. So why are you voting and you don't even know any political science? Matter of fact, did you know that when you vote, you say oppression is right? Because you legitimize this oppressive system. When you vote, you legitimize it. So you say, people should vote. If you ain't vote, you wrong for not voting. Nah, you're wrong for voting. Because first of all, you keep losing while you're voting. And when you vote, you're saying America's political system is right. You say America had a right to unlawfully occupy, commit genocide against indigenous people. You said America had a right to enslave black people. You said America has a right to keep on practicing wrongful convictions, police brutality. You said America has that right. You said America has the right to keep doing what it does internationally against people. You said America has that right and you support it. America has a right to withhold reparations from black people. That's what you say when you vote, when you participate in this system. That's why we say no, don't participate. Don't participate. Declare your independence. Take control of yourself. Listen. Here's another article I got from a school of political science. This is the London School of Economics and Political Science. See, I call myself a political activist, but I know political science. I know political science. That's why I don't participate and will never submit myself to the American political system. Because according to political science, if you are a minority, you're going to lose in that system. But according to political science, also you have a right of self-determination and you can create your own political system and have your own control as black people in America. That's what we're advocating. And that's what this white attorney from London School of Economic and Political Science is saying. She wrote an article, Do African Americans Have the Right to Internal Self-Determination? This is what a political science class in London is studying about black people in America. Because we are a good case study of foolishness. Because in 2025, who in their right mind, what population in their right mind will remain in a democracy when they are the minority and they have a right of self-determination? Who would do that? Besides the people who don't know that they have a right of self-determination and are being deceived and tricked by their leadership. ACLU is fooling you. ACLU themselves put an article on their website about human rights and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. The ACLU. They spoke on the fact that the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights is the supreme law of the United States. That's what the ACLU said. And they said that the American government must obey the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights because they ratified it in 1992. And according to that covenant that America ratified, government ratified, black people have a right of self-determination, meaning we don't have to have all these civil suits against Trump or against any government. We can just simply stand up, have our own vote, and declare our independence where we live. Now, we can gerrymander. Yeah, we gerrymander in every place where black people live by declaring independence. Otherwise, we're subject to their gerrymandering. And whether it's gerrymandered by a Democrat or a Republican, you still are a minority faction of either one of those. And you are the losers as black people. So why would you choose to engage and participate in that? Because you don't know. You don't know. That's the purpose of us being here. That's my purpose as a human rights policy officer and my fellow officers that you see in the comment section. Just to give some education, because we're taking action as a people. We take action, but the action is ineffective. We'll amass 2 million men on Washington, D.C. and go back powerless when those same 2 million men could have been used to declare independence and take power where we live. We would hit the streets by the millions because of something like the George Floyd assassination by the terrorist police. But yet we'll go back home powerless and the police brutality and terrorism continues because we didn't take that massive participation to assert our human right of self-determination and say, look, we're taking over this city. Or at least where we live in this city. We didn't do that. So we're engaged in ineffective actions. So brothers and sisters, all we're saying is we got to do something different. We got to do something that's not the same, that's extraordinary. We keep doing ordinary things, we get an ordinary result. What's the ordinary result? Continued oppression. And we keep doing it over and over again. Why does the ACLU continue? Because they have a $383 million budget. They're getting paid to keep on engaging in civil rights actions that's ineffective for black people. Why does the NAACP? They have a big budget as well. They're getting paid. Why does your leader continue? Because your leader is rich. So even if he knows about human rights, he's going to continue to engage in civil rights actions, marching, protesting, conferences, speaking, never leading you to take revolutionary action that Dr. King said that we should begin taking. He said that in 1967. He said we're going to begin with the revolutionary action right in Washington, D.C. They couldn't allow that, so they killed Dr. King. And his comrades sold him out. Jackson, Young, all of them sold him out. And we, as so-called the people who love Dr. King, we selling them out too. We selling Malcolm X out as well, engaging in civil rights. These civil rights attorneys, lawyers, they're just getting paid. Why would they care about our liberation when they are secured under this system of oppression? They're making money. Our top black leaders are millionaires, while we're in the poorhouse, struggling, homeless, being gentrified, can't even pay rent. That's escalating by the day. While leadership is playing with us. We got to take matters into our own hand. Organize amongst ourselves. Forget all the organizations. Every black organization is not talking about self-determination. They are fired. Give them the pink slip. I don't care if it's from the Nation of Islam. I don't care if it's from the Black Panther Party. I don't care if it's from the Blacker Than Black Party. If they're not talking about self-determination, fire them. Stop following behind these bad shepherds, fleecing you, fleecing your time and your money. Now we dying. And white folks laughing all the way to the bank, mobilizing us behind their agendas. Now, our agenda, the only agenda for black America from now on, is the right of self-determination. That's our agenda. Independence, self-government over ourselves, wherever we live. No ICE, no police, no military, nobody coming up in there. We're not going to be homeless in Detroit. Hundreds of thousands of empty properties, yet 40,000 literally homeless, over 40,000. And 80 to 85% functionally homeless in a place that has hundreds of thousands of empty properties. Nah, if we declare independence, then the properties belong to us. If we declare independence, then everything in the city, the assets belong to us. We can leverage those assets and cut everybody an EBT check. We could take over the food warehouses if we have to and give everybody some food. Now we've got food security. We're relying on Democratic Party or Republican Party to come to some agreement so we can get food stamps. Now take over, you got food stamps forever. Free food forever. But you can't do it under civil rights. We have a human right to do this. Civil rights, that's what we see going on right now. Civil rights disagreement, civil disagreement. Now we stuck with no EBT, no SNAP. Which I'm good, because now it's going to force us to assert our right of self-determination, because that's the only thing that can solve this problem. It's been the only thing that can solve our problems when we have been sold out by black politicians and black leadership, even revolutionary black leadership. Because if your revolutionary black leader is not talking about the right of self-determination, believe me, he's controlled or she's controlled opposition. They're sellouts. Useless. If they don't know about it, they're ignorant, and you shouldn't be following them in the first place. They don't know about the right of self-determination. But they don't know about political science. Got you participating in this system. It's over with. You're fired. I don't care what minister you is. I don't care what you are. Preacher you are. Lawyer you are. You're fired. I don't care how many guns you carry around talking about you all tough. You got 5,000 guns with you. But use those guns to validate your independence then. Don't use those guns to do a civil rights march. We're doing the wrong things, brothers and sisters. But we got the power. We just don't use it because we don't know we have it. It's called the right of self-determination. Let's study that right, brothers and sisters. Let's study it. So we don't have to worry about EBT. We don't have to worry about ICE or gentrification or police brutality. We don't have to worry about the fact that we're not going to get reparations. We can give it to ourselves. We have power. We have the right of self-determination. Let's utilize it. Learn that you have it, organized behind it. Go back on our post, man. Read the last article about EBT and read some posts back on my feed on Facebook, that infograph about how can you assert the right of self-determination in your community. I don't care if it's one block. You have a right to take over that block. These are human rights. They can't contract them and take them away from us. You have them. You just have to know them and then assert them. So let's assert them, brothers and sisters. Comrades, I appreciate all the human rights policy officers. You see them there making comments. I appreciate you all for standing for these years to try to enlighten our people. I know it's frustrating because the masses of organizations, all of them, matter of fact, that know they won't stand up to assert that right. So they know. Thank you for being the fearless. The real fearless. I know some organizations talk about fearless men, but I can't tell. I can't tell that you're fearless. Stop bowing down. Stand up like men. And the only manly thing to do throughout history, whether it's the biblical history where God told them to stand up and assert their right of self-determination, take over and govern themselves, to 2025, it's the same instruction. Stand up, declare your independence. It's your right of self-determination. Now we control our community. That's it. Not rocket science. So I'm going to sign off, brothers and sisters. Join us. Stand up with us, or just contact us and we'll help you to organize. You don't have to join our organization. I'm not here seeking members to an organization. That's what everybody else is doing. They just want members. They don't want your liberation. They want members. I don't care about members to an organization. I want members of a government of black people. So do it amongst your own selves. Create your own self-determination organization. You don't have to join us, but know that you do have the right of self-determination. You can't have your own vote. You can't stand up as a collective in your community and declare independence. And there's nothing that the government can lawfully do. There's nothing that they can lawfully do to stop that. Yeah, there may be some resistance, but it's unlawful resistance. But because there's resistance, you're not going to try. That's why the organizations that do know what I'm talking about, before I knew about it, they're afraid because they're afraid of the resistance. Accept the resistance. You're dying anyway. Now you're about to die of starvation. You have a right of self-determination. If you're with us, call the hotline numbers there. Give us a call. Let's organize. Let's learn about this right. What can we do based upon the right of self-determination? And you'll be surprised. It will liberate your intellect, because all of us on social media, we're intellectual, but none of us know what to do. Majority of us. Now, get your intellect wrapped around your human right of self-determination and start organizing. Start taking action. And let's finally liberate black people. Let's finally get some justice. I want to sign off. I'm over here in Egypt. It's about 4 a.m. in the morning. But I don't care nothing about sleep when it's dealing with liberation for my people. I love you all. Man, we just got to get free. We just got to get free, but we have to do the right thing. Everybody have a blessed night. Salute. Peace.